too late. That was so weird. I felt so alone. Yeah. Amy says, hello. See, I didn't even know you were here, Amy. It was just stuck. Um, Nothing was happening, and it was really disconcerting. So it's nice to. Ah, Michelina says, Bon matin, mon chéri. Tech is so weird, Sam says. Yeah. Laura says, checking with mild jaw pain, but eager to play in my studio. Oh, did you have an injury, Laura? Or dental work or something? Okay, well, it is now 8:10, so we should do some grounding. Elaine says, I thought your bear might be imaginary, like the one you saw in Tahoe City. I need to check out your story. And so he says, good morning. Now, let me show you. I'll show you the bear. Let's do that really quickly. Okay, I gotta find, like, there he is. Isn't that crazy? Let's see. I don't know if I can show you a video or not. Yeah, he was catching fish. It was so cool. Yeah. Now I don't know how to turn that off. Mm-hmm. There we go. No green screen. Okay. Amy says, checking in, making time, feeling exciting. And Elaine says, TMJ, probably no work yet. Need to get a tooth pulled before it becomes a bigger issue, though. Amy says, crazy indeed. Nicholina says, look at that fish in her mouth. And Elaine says, oh, Laura, I hope it feels better real soon. Rest up and applesauce. Cindy's here. Sorry, I've missed a few. Catherine says, hi. Cheryl says, the bear. Elaine says, KG, hi. All right. Okay, so let's do some grounding. I didn't give this much thought because I've been chatting with my girlfriend all morning. But I did pick a reading. Nicolina says, hey KG, subs was amazing. I cried. Oh, I'm so glad you got to go see that. I'm going to have to wait for like a national tour to see it. And KG says, oh my God, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. All right, I'm going to start our grounding with a reading because I feel like I need some inspiration. So this is a poem by Rosemary Wachula Trommer. I've read from this book several times. So let's just kind of quiet the chat and quiet ourselves a little bit and open ourselves to hear what this reading might have to say to you this morning. And it's titled, What's in a Broken Cup? Not everything broken needs to be fixed. Even the loveliest cup, the one that seemed perfection, the one that fit just right in the hand and held the favorite wine, even that cup is only a cup. And being fashioned out of breakable clay, it was, we would say, made to be broken. The fact it was fragile was always a part of its value. In shattered fragments, the cup is no less treasured, perhaps even more treasured now that its wholeness isn't taken for granted. There are some who would throw the pieces away. There are some who would meet them with glue or even with gold in an effort to repair. But there are some who will cherish what is broken and hold it even more tenderly now, Trusting its use, though different, is no less valuable. Trusting a fragment is sometimes more than enough. Trusting we might now sip our wine straight from the source. I love that reframe. I love that thought of trusting the value of something even when it doesn't serve us in the most expected way. And I'll invite you to just think about whether there's something in your life that has shifted, where its value is maybe less apparent than it once was. Maybe you can begin to open your heart and your mind to the possibilities of a new sort of value, a new use, a new perspective. I'll read it one more time. Not everything broken needs to be fixed. Even the loveliest cup, the one that seemed perfection, the one that fit just right in the hand and held the favorite wine, even that cup is only a cup. And being fashioned out of breakable clay, it was, we could say, made to be broken. The fact it was fragile was always part of its value. In shattered fragments, the cup is no less treasured. Perhaps even more treasured now that its wholeness isn't taken for granted. There are some who would throw the pieces away. There are some who would meet them with glue or even gold in an effort to repair. But there are some who will cherish what is broken and hold it even more tenderly now. Trusting its use, though different, is no less valuable. Trusting a fragment is sometimes more than enough. Trusting we might now sip our wine straight from the source. Today is what? November 7th. And it is Friday. Evelyn says, I love the charm of used treasures. I hold spoon that my Italian nonna used to stir the sauce and wear the torn apron. Yeah. Pamela says, when I was doing play therapy, my kid clients taught me the value of a broken toy. Your reading reminded me of this. Yeah. Nice. We learn so much from kids. Yeah, we really do. Cheryl thinks KG sus was so good and so moving and such a light. On history I never knew, feeling the need for a sus study circle to learn about our matriarchal ancestors. Cindy says, beautiful, Elaine. And I'm totally spacing out Moxie Studio. Don't tell me. That was such a good brain exercise. It starts with an S. Oh my gosh, total brain fart. Well, anyway, I know where you live. I know. I'm so sorry. It's just not coming to my brain. Pamela says, Skyle, thank you. I knew it started with an S. Skyle says, sorry you're in pain, Laura. Sending healing vibes your way. Pamela says, this morning in my art gathering, our guide shared the marks we are making on the page are a part of us, and we begin to know this form from practice. Skyle says, so interesting, Pamela. And Nicolina says, yes, sure, I'll study circle. And Laura says, thanks, Skyle. And Nicolina says, sky. And Elaine says, poof. That's what I always think of that. Cindy says, Laura, I feel better soon. There was a biologist up where we saw the bear yesterday, who was just kind of answering people's questions, and she was talking about the kokanee that are in Lake Tahoe are not native to the area. Somebody brought them in at some point. And evidently there have always been rumors that the Forest Service or the Fish and Wildlife have wanted to remove them from the lake since they're not native. And she was very interesting to hear her take on things. They have no desire to remove them. They never have. They do monitor the population because, you know, anytime you introduce something that's not native, you run the risk of it disrupting the balance. They are very, very adamant about letting nature take its own course. So the inlet where, I don't know if the inlet is the right term, but the place where the where the fish enter the creek out of the lake was blocked this year. There was a big sandbar that was keeping the fish from going upstream. And she said we don't mess with that. Like if we see there's a sandbar in the way, we don't remove the sandbar because that's nature taking its own course. It was just very interesting to hear how her kind of clarification on things and just to learn more about that whole process of, like how do you keep a bio what am I trying to say? How do you support nature, protect it, while also doing what you can to ensure it, is here for years to come. And does that sometimes mean removing a population? So far, they have not chosen to do that. With the salmon, they've been here for a very, very long time, so they don't interfere any more than they absolutely have to. Just let nature take its course. People don't always. People say, I think intentions are often good, but don't always play out in the best way. It's 8:27. This is often when people will share any words or observations that have come up in the making of your mandala. My words today are straight from the reading. Not everything broken needs to be fixed. Lane says, wholeness isn't taken for granted. Oof. Nicolina says, flames of freedom and justice. Cindy says, I'm willing to soak in all my blessings today. Feeling a little bit like I can't top yesterday with my friend. We're actually going to head into Reno today and just fiddle around in Reno. But I'm like, I don't know how to top a bear in the wild eating salmon. Like, that's a tall order. But I do know that we can, I can introduce her to the best croissant in northern Nevada. So that's always lovely. Everybody loves a good croissant, right? Laura says, not everything broken needs to be fixed. Full moon energy, illuminating my soul. Why is clenching my default subconscious? Says, thanks, Kathy. Amy said, I also wrote down, not everything broken needs to be fixed. Laura says, also grateful for a surprise Mandala from KT. And Laura says, the spread in my journal is cozy. Nice. Thanks for spending this morning with me, friends. I love you all so much. Have a great day.